the gas that's produced in a change of state. A gas being produced would be something like putting vinegar and baking soda together and immediately begins to foam and bubble and give off a gas that was not present there. Whereas if you boil water, that gas that you're seeing is actually a change of state. So be sure you look at what's occurring to make sure you understand what's happened. Yes.
Are we going to have to know all those for the test?
You need to know at least 4 because I'm going to ask you for 3 or 4. So just be prepared for 3 or 4. Now, there are some examples. It's not in story form, but there's some phrases at the bottom where you're to tell whether this is a chemical or a physical change. So let's take a look at these and see if you can get these right. How about erosion of a riverbed by water? Would that be physical or chemical? Robbie?
Physical.
Physical. You are simply changing either the size or the form of that riverbed. That's all you're doing. How about carving a statue out of marble? Mike?
Physical.
It's physical. What are you changing it? You're just simply changing the shape of it. How about ice cream melting? Andrew?
Physical.
Physical. That's a change of state from solid to liquid. Here's a good one. Baking a cake. Read.
Chemical.
Chemical. Let me just give you a hint. Cooking is chemical. All right? Cooking.
So if you said grilling, that'll be
substances
chemical?
not
It would be too.
Grilling?
Yes, because you're actually producing carbon.
Slap
And the heat. And also you're adding your heat's being used to get to the chemical reaction. Good. How about a flash bulb flashes? Chemical because it's giving off light and heat. Have you ever touched a light bulb?
Oh, yeah.
Y'all probably hadn't that much, but if you did, used to, we had the old-timey cameras, you had flash bulbs, not built-in flashes. Cooking waffles, chemical. Mothballs disappear over time. Now, you're not familiar with mothballs probably.
Actually.
But what happens is you put mothballs in with wool and certain kinds of fabrics to keep the moths from eating holes in your clothes. And it gives off a distinctive smell, and the smell that you're actually, it gets more over time. Those get smaller because they're changing from a solid to a gas. Physical. Sublimation. A red mark appears after a bee sting. Chemical. Change of color. Leaves changing color. Chemical. Sanding a piece of wood.
Physical.
Fireworks exploding. Chemical. Chocolate melting.
Physical. No.
Fireworks exploding was chemical.
And chocolate melting is
Chocolate melting is
chemical.
physical because it's changing from
chocolate.
solid to a liquid.
So it's still okay.
Melting, freezing, those are all physical. Vinegar is mixed with baking soda.
Chemical.
Chemical. Lighting a match.
Chemical.
Plants undergo photosynthesis.
Physical.
It's chemical. Let's look at why. Because it's a chemical reaction. You're taking sunlight, you're taking chlorophyll, and water, and you're changing that chemically to produce something that was no longer there, and it was plant sugar. And so that would definitely be a chemical. A drop of hydrochloric acid on marble produces carbon dioxide gas.
Chemical.
Chemical. Now, let's translate this into story form. Let's see if you can find chemical and physical changes in a story. All right? Which is what you'll be doing on your test, and you will also be doing this on your final exam. So I'll read the story, and as I am, jot down as we're reading this some of them that you see, some that you think are physical or chemical, and then we'll go through and see if we can find them. Okay, so we want to find 5 physical and 5 chemical changes in this story. So jot them down as I read, as you see them.
So, do you want to? Can we do it on the same sheet?
You can.
On
And you can just jot down words to clue you to where they are.
Can I move your computers?
Mm-hmm. Let's see like
You should bring some of your
Mrs.
jet
Neighbors
down.
awoke Sunday morning to find 3 inches of snow outside. As she stepped onto the wood floor, she let out a big ouch. She had stepped on some broken glass her husband had forgotten to sweep up the night before. The den was warm when she walked in because her husband had started a fire in the fireplace earlier when he got up. She stood by the fire to knock the chill off her hands and feet. As she was warming up, she could see the children sliding down a big hill that was covered with slick ice. One of the little boys was walking up the hill with a broken sled. It had been broken in half. She saw the beautiful snow transformed into a sludgy mess from the sleds and the footprints that had been left in the snow. Stepping out onto the porch, her breath looked like clouds of smoke escaping from her mouth. It was too cold to stay outside long. Her husband was busy making breakfast. He was frying eggs and taking blueberry muffins out of the oven. He made instant orange juice out of the last bit of tang that was in the jar. He placed a piece of toast on a plate with a pat of butter that was just beginning to melt. She put the first bite into her mouth and noticed that her mouth was watering as the delicious food was being chopped and torn by her teeth. After breakfast, she decided to wait about half an hour before going out to build a snowman. She wanted to give her food time to digest. Okay, let's see what we can find.
Is that true?
Okay.
Is any of it
Alright.
true?
Some.
Like,
My
She
husband
hit the
always
last
cooks.
part. What about glass?
I have done that, and he did break a glass this weekend, but it wasn't in the bed, it was in the kitchen. Okay,
Oh my god.
and we did have snow.
I had it.
All right, let's walk through here and see if we can find some of these things. This is what you'll have on your test tomorrow. You will have a story. And you'll have to go in and find physical and chemical changes in the story. And you'll be listing, you'll have to find 10, 5 physical, 5 chemical. Let's see how many we can find in this story. All right, let's look at the first sentence. See if we see anything. Mrs. Neighbors awoke Sunday morning to find 3 inches of snow outside. Anything in that sentence?
Find 3 inches of snow outside. Is that physical?
That is a physical because what happened?
You're finding it.
Water.
Oh, no, no, water's in
Water
ours.
turned into ice or snow crystals, so you've got a change of state. Good. So here's one that's physical. Let me highlight that one. All right, there's one physical. As she stepped onto the wood floor, she let out a big ouch. Anything there? Right. She had stepped on some broken glass her husband had forgotten to sweep up the night before. Walter?
When we stepped on broken glass.
Right.
And that'd be physical.
That is physical. Because it was a change in the form of the glass. It had broken into pieces, so it was no longer in the shape it was in. All right, the den was warm when she walked in because her husband had started a fire in the fireplace earlier when he got up. You see anything in that one? Tarek?
Started a fire.
All right, he started a fire in the fireplace, and is that physical or chemical? Think about,
Chemical?
it is chemical because what's
That's producing heat.
heat and
Light.
and light. So let's make that one chemical, and we'll color that yellow or pink. Okay. Okay.
Oh, you can't see.
Yeah, it makes it really dark.
Whoa.
All right. Should I make it a different, maybe yellow?
Or do yellow's ugly.
Yeah, that's kind of mean, Joseph.
No, but you can see it.
But you can still see. Okay. She stood by the fire to knock the chill off of her hands and feet. Anything you see there? I mean, think about it as a story. You're going to a fire and you're just why you're getting warm by, because it's just